DSPy's streaming mechanism enables incremental output processing through asynchronous generators, allowing real-time capture of specific prediction fields via configurable listeners. This approach decouples field-level streaming from the core prediction logic while maintaining control over final output inclusion. We'll examine how a predict module gets wrapped with streaming functionality using targeted StreamListener instances, with the async generator pattern handling both intermediate chunks and the final prediction object. The configuration will demonstrate field-specific streaming while suppressing the final prediction from the output stream, showcasing the granular control available in DSPy's streaming architecture.
Import Asyncio. Import DSPy. DSPy, configure elm equals DSPy. lm OpenEye /GPT4o mini, cache equals false. Hash create the program and wrap it with streaming functionality. Predict equals DSPy. Predict question answer reasoning. StreamListeners equals DSPy, streaming. StreamListener signature field name equals answer. DSPy, streaming. StreamListener signature field name equals reasoning. StreamPredict equals DSPy. StreamIfIPredict. StreamListeners equals StreamListeners. Async def use streaming. Output equals StreamPredict. Question equals why did a chicken cross the kitchen? Include final prediction in output stream equals false. Return value equals none. Async for value in output. If isinstance of value, DSPy, prediction. Return value equals value. LC. Print value. Return value. Output equals Asyncio. Run streaming. Print output.
This code demonstrates how to use StreamListener to selectively stream specific fields from a DSPy prediction while controlling whether the final prediction appears in the output stream. The pattern wraps a DSPy predict module with streaming functionality, targeting only the answer and reasoning fields for incremental output. The implementation creates two StreamListener instances, each configured to capture a specific field from the prediction signature. When Streamify wraps the predictor, these listeners intercept the LM's response stream and yield only the chunks relevant to their target fields. The include final prediction in output stream equals false parameter ensures the complete prediction object isn't duplicated in the stream, though it's still returned as the final value. This approach provides granular control over streaming behavior, useful when you want to show progress for specific outputs while suppressing others. The trade-off is increased complexity in managing multiple listeners versus simpler full output streaming. The pattern is particularly valuable for applications where different fields have different priority for real-time display, or where you want to minimize redundant data transmission. Let's break it down.
Import Asyncio.
Imports Python's built-in Asyncio module for writing asynchronous code using coroutines, tasks, and event loops.
Import DSPy.
Imports the DSPy framework, providing access to its language model programming tools and modules for building AI systems with declarative signatures and optimized prompts.
DSPy, configure elm equals DSPy. lm OpenEye /GPT4o mini, cache equals false.
Configures DSPy to use the OpenAI GPT-4o mini language model as the default LM for subsequent operations, with caching explicitly disabled for all LM calls. This means every request to the LM will be fresh, bypassing any cached responses that might exist from previous identical calls.
Predict equals DSPy. Predict question answer reasoning.
Creates a DSPy predict module with a signature that maps a question input to an answer output, including an intermediate reasoning field. This sets up a basic prediction module that will generate answers to questions while also producing the reasoning steps used to arrive at those answers. The signature defines the expected input-output structure for this specific prediction task.
StreamListeners equals
Initializes an empty list named StreamListeners that will store StreamListener objects for capturing incremental output from specific fields in DSPy program execution.
DSPy, streaming, StreamListener signature field name equals answer.
Creates a StreamListener instance configured to capture streaming output from a field named answer in a DSPy module. This listener will monitor and process the incremental output specifically from the signature field identified as answer during program execution.
DSPy, streaming, StreamListener signature field name equals reasoning.
Creates a StreamListener instance configured to capture streaming output from a field named reasoning in a DSPy module. This listener will monitor and stream the incremental output of the reasoning field during program execution, enabling real-time observation of the module's reasoning process as it generates results.
StreamPredict equals DSPy, StreamIfItPredict, StreamListeners equals StreamListeners.
Wraps the predict function with streaming capability using DSPy, StreamIfy, configuring it to use the provided StreamListeners for capturing incremental output from specific fields during execution. The resulting StreamPredict will return outputs progressively rather than all at once, with the listeners determining which parts of the prediction process are streamed to the user.
Async def use streaming.
Defines an asynchronous function named useStreaming with no parameters. The function body is empty, indicating it's a placeholder for streaming-related operations that will be implemented later.
Output equals StreamPredict.
Calls StreamPredict and assigns its return value to the variable output. This initiates a streaming prediction process that will yield incremental results rather than waiting for complete output, with the final result stored in output. The function likely belongs to a DSPy module configured for streaming behavior, though specific parameters aren't visible in this segment.
Question equals, why did a chicken cross the kitchen?
Assigns a string value, why did a chicken cross the kitchen, to a variable named question. This creates a simple string variable that will likely be used as input for some language model processing task, though the specific usage isn't visible in this line.
Include final prediction in output stream equals false.
Sets the include final prediction in output stream parameter to false, which prevents the final prediction from being included in the output stream when stream listeners are active. This configuration only takes effect when streaming is enabled and listeners are capturing outputs.
Return value equals none.
Assigns the value none to a variable named return value, initializing it as a placeholder that currently holds no data. This is a common pattern to explicitly declare a variable before it's populated with an actual value later in the code.
Async for value and output.
Iterates asynchronously over each value in the output sequence. This is an async for loop that processes items from an async iterator, allowing other tasks to run while waiting for each value. The variable value takes on each successive item from output during iteration.
If is instance of value DSPy, prediction. Return value equals value.
Checks if the value is an instance of DSPy, prediction, and, if true, assigns that value to return value. This preserves the original prediction object when the condition is met.
Print value.
outputs the value of the variable value to the console. This is a standard Python print statement that displays the contents of value as text, followed by a new line. The operation has no return value and serves purely for debugging or user feedback purposes.
Return value.
Returns the value stored in the variable return value to the caller. This is a standard return statement that exits the current function or method and provides the specified value as the output.
Output equals Asyncio. Run streaming.
Runs the useStreaming coroutine asynchronously using Asyncio, run, and assigns the result to the variable output. This blocks the current thread until the coroutine completes, executing the streaming operation and capturing its final output.
Print output.
Prints the value of the variable output to the console. This is a standard Python print statement that displays the contents of output, which could be any data type string, number, object, etc., exactly as it appears in the program's current state. The output will be visible in the terminal or console where the script is running. DSPy's streaming architecture enables granular control over real-time output by decoupling field-level streaming from core prediction logic. The pattern wraps a predict module with targeted StreamListener instances, each configured for specific signature fields like answer and reasoning. These listeners intercept the LM's response stream, yielding only relevant chunks while maintaining separation from the final prediction object. The include final prediction and output stream parameter provides additional control, preventing duplicate output when streaming is active. This approach balances real-time feedback with output management, particularly useful when different fields require distinct streaming priorities. The trade-off between granular control and increased listener management complexity becomes evident, making this pattern ideal for applications where selective real-time display matters more than simplicity.
The StreamListener chases the chicken's answer, but trips over its own reflection in the kitchen.